Welcome to creating a flush tread cover with Salty Custom vinyl, joining a nosing and a plank. I call it stringing the bow because, like a recurve bow, there's three components. The bow is like the nosing, the string is like the plank, and the stringer is like the clamps. So nosing is the bow, plank is the string, and clamps is the stringer. These three components are important to be able to yield a flush tread cover. Just as the stringer is used to load tension into the bow, the clamps are used to load tension into the nosing. And that tension is designed to give this tread cover long-lasting durability and performance unlike any other. So before we get into these steps of how we're going to join the nosing and the plank, let's talk a little more about why this tension is so important to the performance of these stair treads. With any vinyl plank or composite plank, you're going to have movement. That's why a lot of these floors are floating floors, is because there's going to be that movement that is expected. That's why the gaps are so important around the edges, so the material has room to expand and contract. Now, when it comes to stairs, this material can create problems because as it moves, it wants to pull away from the stair. But what this internal tension does within the traffic zone allows for the release of some of that tension without the material moving away from the mounting tread. And that delamination that happens often is the cause and source of the failure of so many LVP stairs, including all of the manufacturer's options for stairs. Those are designed to be replaced often and several times throughout the life of the floor. So now that we understand some of the purpose of that deflection and what the tension will do for our stairs, let's go ahead and go through the steps and get these nosing and plank joined up. First thing we're going to do here is check along the back side of this nosing and confirm that the deflection is what we expect, which is touching in the center and about 1/16 of an inch on either end, because this is a wood poly composite product that we're doing here. An SPC product isn't probably going to have that much deflection in it. It'll have a little bit less. But as we look at the nosing before it's joined up to the plank, we'll see that deflection. After it's joined up to the plank, as you can see, this tread cover here is already fused together, and it's showing a straight edge on the front and back. The product we're using for our example today will be a standard polycore with a round edge. This example here is a square edge. But we're going to take this plank that we're going to join it to. This is a 5-foot 60-inch plank, and we've got a nosing here that's made for a full bull-nosed 1.5-inch tread. Because we don't have a full bull-nosed tread here, I'm going to use a spacer in order to mount and clamp down my nosing and be able to join the plank on the back. So I'm using the edge of the plank right here as my straight edge, and can see that I have the expected distances. And so I'm gonna, there's my spacer. Now I've got a section of foam board. What I'm going to do with that is put it on the front of the tread in the center of where the nosing is going to clamp up. The reason for that is so that it gives me kind of a center pressure point to be able to work from, so that I can bring in any points along the nosing that I can get that nice straight edge along the back to join my plank with. Now I've sped up this part because it takes maybe 3 minutes or so to get this all clamped up and get that edge dialed in so that it's nice and straight. And the tension's loaded into that nosing. And once I've got that, looks like I've got it right there, confirmed. Now I'm going to do a dry fit with the plank. So I'm going to tip that up on a 30-degree angle and get it to set into the locking mechanism. And once I've confirmed that dry fit, I'll check along that entire joint and make sure it's good. Looks like it's perfect. And now we're ready to apply our CA glue. So the CA glue is going to come with this type of a dispensing lid. What you want to do is cut an angle on it like that. And you'll see some close-ups here that show you want to position that open side away from your plank into the channel so that you don't get any squeeze out up onto your plank. You want the glue just to be in the channel, which it gives you, if you put just a bead along there, that will give you enough that it'll give you a nice fused joint, but won't squeeze any out onto the top of your tread surface. If you do happen to get some squeeze out, don't wipe it. What you'll want to do is use a razor to remove that beaded up bit that might come through, but do not wipe it. Avoid that temptation. Here I'm applying the activator, and I'm pointing that away from my nosing surface. Just want to get that on the back side of the plank. Now my 5 or 10 seconds that I'll have to work with this glue begins once I've touched that activated surface plank to the glue. So right there I've got 5 to 10 seconds to get that mechanism all locked in. So that dry fit was getting that perfect pays off here, because you just want to be able to click that in without an issue. And now this joint probably doesn't need this, but in some cases you might want to put some tape on there to hold that joint together. If you use the CA glue without the activator, you can have a little more workup time on it, and then you would want to tape it together and let it sit in order for that CA glue to harden. With the activator, it'll set up quickly, but if you don't use the activator, you want to do like I demonstrated there, which is to tape your surfaces, pulling your joint together so that your joint there is nice and tight and optimal. So now that that's set up, we can remove the clamping, and our spacer. Not that you'll always need a spacer. In most cases you probably won't. These are kind of a specialty nosing here, with being that enormous radius that they are. But as you can see, our plank and nosing are fused, and you can just pick them up and they'll stay together. You don't want to be too rough with them, but you've got a nice tread cover there to work with in order to template and make your side cuts and back cut so that the nosing, inside of the nosing, is tight against the mounting tread. So I'm going to bring it back here and set it in place. You can see I'm just kind of demonstrating the strength of that joint right there, that's nice and fused and solid. Sometimes what I'll do at this point is put tape where I know I'm going to make my cuts once I've templated, so that tape is on there and ready for me to mark it. And then, as you can see here, that perfect joint with that CA glue, not squeezing out through the joint, but enough that it's fused the two pieces together. So here I'm just putting the tape on that I can use to mark my end cuts once I've templated my stairs, and can transfer those markings onto my tread cover here. And the way I like to do it is I go through and do all of my tread covers first. I put the nosings and planks all together. I don't template anything prior. I don't put any glue anywhere. Get all those ready, and once those are ready, then I start templating, and then I template everything before I get a drop of glue out. If you'll follow these steps and make sure that that back of that nosing is straight when you join the plank, you'll end up with an easy installation and perfect stairs.